Welcome to Code with John. Now we are going to yet install Postgre installation again. The last time we installed Postgre 14.5 and now we are going to install Postgre 15. Now, as before, what is Postgre? Let's search for PostgreSQL. Now, for you to install PostgreSQL, you need to have the installation file itself. Now, from the definition, PostgreSQL is a powerful open source object-oriented database system with over 35 years of active development that has earned it a strong reputation for reliability, feature robustness, and performance. So this is a relational database system that stores data in tabular format, like in tables, rows and columns. So for you to actually install PostgreSQL, you need to download it first. So you're going to click on download. Then we have different packages and installers. We have for Linux, macOS, Windows, BSD, and Solaris. I'm using Windows, so I'm going to install on Windows. I'm going to click on Windows. Then I'll click on download the installer. But for me, I had already downloaded the installer. But first, let's see the versions that are now there. So we have version 15, which is the latest. This is what you're going to install, to download and install. So you click here on download. Now click on the version, like now we have version 15.0. So you click on where, if you have macOS, you can click on macOS. If you have Windows, you can click on Windows. And this is Windows 64-bit. You'll click on Windows x86 64-bit. I had already downloaded the installation package. This is the installation package. So what you do, you just double click on the installation package for it to start installing. It's going to ask you for privileges to install as an administrator. Just click on OK and wait for the pop-up window to come up. Now this is the setup itself, so click on Next. Install on the default installation directory, but if you have if you want to install this application on another directory, you can just select it from here and choose whichever folder that you want to install in. So let's click on Next. Now these are the components that are going to be installed, but what we are interested in is PostgreSQL Server and pgAdmin4. Click on Next, the default directory. Yep, Next. Now you need to provide a password for this installation. Put a strong password, but a password that you can actually remember to put. Choose the default port, default locale. These are the installation settings. Now setup is ready to install on your computer, so just click on Next and wait for setup to install. The setup is going to take quite some time, so you're going to be patient for it to actually finish the installation. It's going to take quite a bit of time, depending on the speed of your machine. now it's done. Setup has finished installing PostgreSQL on your computer. Launch Stack Builder at exit. Now this one, when you click on finish, it's going to launch the Stack Builder. Stack Builder may be used to download and install additional tools, drivers, and applications to complement your Postgre installation. We're not going to click on this because we don't need it right now. Okay, now after installation of PostgreSQL, you'll want to connect to the database and see your manage your data, organizational data, and create databases. So there are two tools that you're going to use. Input your master password. Sorry. Then input your user password for Postgre. Now this is the database server, PostgreSQL 15. This is where the databases are. Postgre 15 comes with the default database called Postgres. And from that default database, we have schemas. And that schema, it comes with a public schema called, a default schema called public. And from the schemas, this is where the tables are. This is where the data now is. If you can come down here, you see the tables. Now the structure of a SQL server is like this. You get a database. This is where the databases are. So you get one database. Like here, you can get a database. You can create as many databases as you want. Here, we are going to create a database right now. You have the database Postgre, which is default. Then you have a schema, the default schema called public. Schema is a logical representation of data. Now, for example, you can have a database called employees in your organization. Then you can have a schema called HR schema. You can have a schema called engineer schema. You can have a schema called help desk schema. And from this schema, you can assign users access to a particular schema and deny some users access to other schemas. So what you're going to do is create a database via the pgAdmin4, our first database. So you come to database. Let's do this. Come to database. Right click, say create database. I'm going to name this database EmployeeDB. Owner Postgre. Comment, you can just say employees database. Then the definition, just leave it as default, default. And this is the SQL code for creating the database, employee database, EmployeeDB. So we say save. And as you can see, from here now we have two databases, EmployeeDB and PostgreDB. That this came with the default, as the default, and then we have created our own EmployeeDB. So from EmployeeDB, what are we going to do? We want to create a database. We want to create a table. A table where? On the public schema. Now, by default, every query that you're going to do is going to come to the public schema, execute from the public schema. Unless you explicitly define that you have many schemas and you explicitly define where to fetch your data, it always is going to come to the public schema. So I'm going to create a table to the public schema. I'll touch on schemas later on in the course in another video. So here, table, create table. What am I going to name this table? I'm going to name it employees. And who's the owner? Postgre. Schema, it's public. If I had another schema here created, maybe HR, e-commerce, I can put the schema there. Now to the columns. You know, this is a tabular data format. We are going to create our columns. This is where the data, the records are going to be inputted. But now, this is where the data is. So we are going to create our first columns. So the first column, I'm going to name it ID. Data type, I'm going to name to put as integer. Not null, in that this table, this column is not supposed to be null, like no records inside. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to have records inside. Then primary key. Then first name, and this is another column. First name. Variable character, not null. Let me add another one. Last name, still variable character, not null. Let me add another one for dates. Date of birth. Let's say date. Not now. We don't have. For now, we don't want null records. So we say yes. Save. Now we've created our table called employees, and this table has columns. Just like in Excel, this table has columns. As you can see, we have ID, first name, last name, and date of birth. Now we want to input data into this column, so we just say, you right click on the table and say query to. So let me show you. Select. We want to see what is in the table. All. Start repeating all. From. Employees. And this is how you do a select query. Select all from employees. And then you end with a semicolon. Then let's run it. As you can see, we have our columns here. These are our columns: ID, first name, last name, and date of birth. Now, for us to add data into it, we can actually add data into this column. Say add row. As you can see, we actually put a restriction that it's not supposed to be null, but now it's null. Okay, ID, let's say 1, first name, Jimmy, last name, Carter. Date of birth, 10th, Let's add another row and see. ID2. John. Sina. 12. 2000. Then you can save the data changes, or you can press F6 to save the data changes. Now we've saved the data. Now let me access this our database via the command line and see what we have. Let me access it via the command line. First, let me refresh this. Via PSQL, so cmd open PSQL /h localhosts minus here Postgres minus e. The database was employee DB. Now this is how it goes. PSQL is a tool used to access the Postgres database. Minus H, this is the local host where the server is based. This is the user, minus U, this is the user, Postgres, and minus D, this is the employee database. So let's connect to it. Input the password. Now let's check first let's check under the employees database. How many schemas do you have? And the way to look for schemas is /dn. We only have one public schema there. And the owner is PG database owner. Now let's see, do we have any tables? This is how you check for tables. /dt. Yes, we have an employees table under the schema public. Now let's see, select all from employees. Don't forget the semicolon. And there we have. This is the records that we have. Jimmy Carter, employees. Now, you might want to, with the select also, you may just want a few columns, maybe the first name and the last name, or the first name and the date of birth. So what you do is just say select select first name, comma, last name, from employees. Okay. Now you can see we've actually viewed only the names, the first name and the last name. We can say we want to select only the ID and the date of birth only. We say select ID and date of birth from employees, that's employees table. Now this one tells us select the ID only. This is ID and date of birth from which table? Employees table. Now you might have so many tables here. This is where this from comes in. Now let's see. As you can see, now we have only the ID and date of birth from the employees table. Now if you want to delete this table or the database first, if you want to delete the database, but you're not supposed to do this on a production server, you just say drop database employee DB. If I do this, I'm going to delete this database, employee DB database. I'm going to delete it. If I do drop database employee DB, and if I want to completely delete the table, drop table employees. Now if I execute this query, it's going to delete the whole of this employees, table, and all the records will be gone. Now thank you for watching my video. I'll urge you to like and subscribe if it has been very helpful to you. This will help me a long way on my channel, and may God bless you. Thank you very much, and bye bye. See you on the next video.